correct behaviors, inappropriate behaviors. So you're going to be sitting there with the boss, going through honest, ethical manner, and needs. Here are the 5 potential. You want to fill in at least 2. And you either, for example, you take this behavior, is open and honest in dealing with others. Okay? You want to keep that or you want to improve it? Which box do you want to tick? Or do you want to start being honest with colleagues? Right? You don't want to stop it, but you want to start. Anything that is improve, stop, or start, you have to put down the action of what you're going to do to improve it. And discuss it. Agree with the boss. Boss, if I do this, make sure that you tell me about it, right? So that I can improve. Remember this, right? It's our blind spot. So give me feedback. Give me feedback. And not in 6 months. Today. If I do something wrong today, tell me today. Not in the future. So this is where you write down an action if you need to improve, stop, or start. So clearly, if you are gossiping, for example, I'm not saying everyone's going to get this, but someone is. Right? If you get gossiping in there, then clearly it's going to be a stop, right? If it's a stop, then what are you going to do to improve or to stop this type of behavior? And together, because now you have somebody who's helping you, who's looking over your shoulder. And remember, their objective is to make sure that the people that work for them, their subordinates, are being ethical and honest and are not gossiping. Right? So consequently, it's in their interest to support you in that activity. So you write down 1, 2, maybe 3. Don't do too many because you're just going to have so many behaviors you don't know what to do with them. Right? And the other thing is that just don't do keep. It means you're perfect. Right? Okay, maybe with honesty you can do with 2 keeps. And keeps are just to reassure ourselves that yeah, we're still doing it, we're still okay. Alright, honesty, discipline. Again, discipline is specifically for the non-executive behaviors that are appropriate and inappropriate. Exactly the same approach. 2 to 5. Accountable. Proactive. Customer-driven. Strategic. Studious. That's a lot of behavior. Talk, huh? Have you ever had someone talk about behavior? No. Finally, we're talking about the things that matter. We're not just talking about general stuff. We say in general, yes, it's okay. You don't have to use these specifically. You can actually go into something else. But that something else has to tie in, that behavior has to tie in to this. Don't allow your boss to write down a behavior that's nothing to do with anything. Park in a different spot. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Right? Don't allow that to happen. Put it in the comments. I don't want this. It's not a good behavior. Not appropriate. Okay? And last page, so you've done your 7, you've done your KPIs, you've done your behaviors. Last page, every single time, you have this ability that the boss can write something, you can write something, and you sign it. This. You can write something, means it is a document. So, it's up to you to write. It's up to you to write. The boss is not allowed to tell you what you're allowed to write or not write. Unless you put it down here, the boss is not allowing you to write. If that's a real issue, if they're not allowing you to write things down here, that's HR. And that's a disciplinary issue. Alright, so bring it up. Bring it up. HR is, by the way, in this new system, HR responsibilities are, it's gone from, doing little, or no, doing stuff, to all of a sudden having all sorts of issues to cover. And this is where you start finding the disciplinary issues with the bosses. So the bosses that are basically discouraging you from doing your job. The bosses that are discouraging you from being honest, from being disciplined, from being accountable, from being proactive, from coming up with ideas, right? That's where you pick yourself in the organization. As I said earlier, it's like having water in a tank. And slowly the water drops, because we're all behaving the same way. The rocks will start appearing. Those rocks are the bosses that are not in line. That's another way for this to appear. If you start getting all sorts of employees writing in here, comments that are consistent on a specific boss, that means that there's something behind it. And you cannot ignore it. Because remember, honesty, openness.
If after the discussion and the
basically, that's correct. If you are not at all in line, then it has to go to HR. It has to go up the line because it's a departmental issue. Because remember, your KPI, back here, your KPI is linked to a departmental objective. So it should go up the line first. So you have the right, I would say. I'm not a span employee, so it's easy for me to say, it's an outsider. But you have the right to go to your boss and say, this is not right, and explain. I think you have that right. You should exercise because it's in your own interest. Right? It's black on white. It's written down. And if it's a KPI you don't understand, don't accept it. If it's a KPI you do not control, don't accept it. If it's wishful thinking, 5 years from now you should do this, don't accept it. Know your rights. Because if you're working, and we're all working, it will all come here. It will come there. But if you're dissatisfied, it's like, I'm doing things that I'm not supposed to be doing, or I'm being asked to do things that I don't control. That's not right. You're not going to be motivated. You can accomplish those targets. So what's the purpose of having that target? Right? The thing about it is that you, particularly as non-executive, you know what's going on. You know what's going on because you live it. You're what we call in the trenches, right? In the warfare. You're on the front line. You know what the customers are saying. You know what's going on. So as a consequence, you know more than your boss does in this regard. So bring that knowledge to the table. Talk to them about that. Yeah? Don't allow them to tell you what to do or what you should think. And that's what some of the stuff we're going to be doing this afternoon. So that's the form for the beginning of the year. And if you refuse to sign, but here again, write your comments. What you're signing off on are your comments. I don't agree with my KPIs. You can sign that, right? As long as put it in pen, just in case, and make photocopies. Awesome, make photocopies. So you have the file. Okay, now we're midterm. So we've done the beginning of the year, now we're midterm. What happens there? Same thing, here we go. Who you are, who your bosses are. You then do this together, not alone. Don't allow the supervisor to do it without you. And the goal here is this thing is, yes, you're going to revise KPIs. You're going to be looking at that. But only revise it if it really has changed, if it's impactful. This is not meant to change your KPIs halfway through the year. It's unfair to you, and it's not going to help the organization move forward. Right? So, but it's true, things happen. So okay, if it happens, let's change it. Let's be real. But if you change it, you have an obligation to go back to whoever you're serving. For example, if you write a report and that report goes to legal, you have an obligation to go to legal and say, by the way, I've changed my KPI. Because they don't know. Right? And now you've changed your KPI. So I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to write any reports anymore. Right? I'm going to do something else. And legal's sitting there, like, where's my report? How can I do my KPIs now if you're not doing it anymore? So you have to go to the people that your KPI impacts and say, it's okay. If it's not okay, you have to change your KPIs too. That is an interaction. The organization is starting to communicate, the links are made, starting to understand how it works. That's important. Just don't do it in a vacuum. So here are the KPIs. This is just a general, rewrite the 5 KPIs, the 4 KPIs that you've had, and the way, so this is a replication, more or less, of what you did at the beginning of the year, right? Stretch target. And then you can look at, well, what have we achieved today? How are things going? And any comments? Are we falling behind? Are we ahead? Do we need to adjust? Do not adjust targets downwards. That's not allowed. It's not cool. It means that you've done a poor job on your targets up front. You can, but be careful with that. Be careful with that. And then this is the page that you use if you need to change your KPI. So the first page is, this is the KPIs as they are. How are we doing today? Are there any things that we need to improve on or focus on? And now I need to revise. So these are original KPIs, these are the revised ones. New targets versus old targets, any kinds. Here again, KPI should only be revised if there's a change of priorities or the targets are beyond the control of the employee and the division. Things have happened. This is where we capture them. Meanwhile, we have still the 7 behaviors. So remember, we've written down the behaviors here in January and keep, improve, stop, start, and actions taken. This is just to go over, make sure that at least this conversation is happening in the middle of the year. But hopefully, on an ongoing basis, you're having this interaction with your boss, with your colleagues about these behaviors. So you can actually say, yeah, things are happening. So I've gone from improve to keep. Okay, good. Or, no, I haven't started yet. When are you going to start? What are you going to do? Because in 6 months' time, it's going to come up. Right? So these are the 7 pages that you do. And here we go again. Sign off. Before you sign off, you're allowed to comment. And the boss is allowed to comment. We're documentation. Get a copy of it. Right? So you have it. You're entitled to it. You need to know. And then the last one, year-end job. Now we're in December. You're now working a whole year. What does that look like? Same setup. Right? And no, the expected rating of all KPIs and leadership competency is 3, not 4. The rating of 4 is for KPIs assigned to employees that have reached the minimum of the stretch targets. A 4 on leadership competencies can only be assigned to exceptional behaviors, not everyday behaviors. So these are the famous 5 KPIs. These are the KPIs that were revised in June, July. The revised ones. Don't go back to the original ones because they've changed. Target, stretch target, achievement, and then did they go over the achievement? Did the achievement hit the target? Underachieve, overachieve? That's put here. Then you take this, same 5 KPIs. You look at the achievement, variation. Then you take in the weightage and you take in the KPI rating. The rating depends on the variation. Is it plus or minus? Is it 80% of target? Is it 100% of target? Is it 100% of stretch target? Where is it? That's the KPI rating. And then you take the score, for example, it's a 4. You take the weightage, which is maybe 0.25. 4 times 0.25 is 1. And then you add these up. And basically, you end up with the total. That's your KPI score. It's simple math. There's no magic. no, too much hand waving. It's all very straightforward. These are then your individual behaviors. And individual behaviors have to be rated individually. It can't be rated as a group. So remember, these were the ones that you would put down, 1 or 2, keep, improve, stop, start. We've already had a conversation about it in July. Now, you have to write down comments and you have to rate. Remember the first 3? Maximum 3. So you circle, is it a 2, is it a 3? Depending on the improvement and on what you're doing. Have you stopped what you're supposed to be stopping? Have you improved? Have you started? Etc. Same with this discipline and accountable. Now the next 4 have a rating up to 4, right? Exceptional behaviors. So you do all these 7. Here they are. Done. And you put your rating in here. You have your famous multiplier effect, and you give your score. You have to take the total of these and divide by 7, and that is your leadership competency score. You then take your KPI final score that you got from the KPI. Right, this one. This one. Take that one. And you take the individual. This one. You put them in here. KPI, leadership competencies. You add them up. Okay, that's your score. That's your score. If you're below 3 here, basically it means you're not performing to level. If you're 3 to 3.4, it means that you're doing your job, doing well, and anything above 3.4 is a fail. Right? You then have, this is very important, you then have final comments on the year from your boss, from yourself. You sign, the boss signs, and down here, The HOD signs. HOD must see your final page. They must look at this. So whatever you write down here, they have seen. They can't hide. They can't hide. Oh, I never saw that. It was a signature. There's a date. The HOD job has gotten a lot harder. They can't hide. Right? That's why it's in. And that actually came in as a result of some of your colleagues saying, hey, no matter what we do with the boss, no matter what we write down here, no one's going to pay attention. Okay. Let's put the HOD in there. See what they do. It doesn't mean it's going to get solved, but it's documented that they've seen it. And if they don't do it on a consistent basis, then they have a problem with the CEO. Right? They have a problem. This is an obligation. This is not just like, oh, I see, thank you very much. This is an obligation to do something about it because it impacts KPIs, it impacts the culture. What we write down there. Any questions on this? You see the forms? They're consistent. Planning, midterm review, final review. Only at the final review do you get a rating. So you don't need to argue about ratings during the year. It's difficult enough to do the final rating. Don't get into the trap of arguing about ratings in the middle of the year. Talk about results, not ratings. Yep. And then once this runs, whole cycle at least, then you can start talking about pay for performance. Then you can start talking about who's a 4, who's a 3, what is it for? A couple of things. There's been a lot of discussion about, okay, but there's still some bosses that would be rating 4s when actually they're 3s. There are going to be bosses that are rating 2s when actually there's some 3s. That becomes important when you get into the Ps, when you get into what the P2, P3, P4 levels. And what happens there is that on the P2, P3, P4, P5 levels is what's called force ranking. I hope you don't need to do it, but you probably will have to do it as an organization. Force ranking basically looks at all the individuals in a specific category, say P2. All the individuals in P3, etc. And within that, they have to rank the best on down in the entire organization. And the way that's done is that basically all the HODs, right, and all the important heads of department sit down in a room and go individual by individual. Force ranking. Who's top, who's under. So basically your final score, right, here is not a given if you do force ranking, because it might be revised, particularly if your boss gives you 4s on actual factors. So this is an honest conversation that's happened. You've done what you can do, but you also have to realize that not everyone is playing the game, playing by the rules. And you have to sometimes sort that out. And I expect that you'll have to do this, because you haven't had a system in place for long enough that levels itself. You don't have that. So therefore, force ranking will happen. Now, you should understand where you end up. That if this is revised, then you should know what your revised number is. That should not be a secret. That's what we say. I can't tell you if it's parents that do it. But it should be that way. Remember, we're honest, right? We're disciplined, we are accountable. Those things indicate that it's a behavior where we show the results. You should know what your final result is, particularly if there's a force run. The other way of doing it in some organizations is to turn around and say, okay, the bell-shaped curve exists for everyone. So it exists in all organizations. So we have this bell-shaped curve. So basically, if you have your department and say there are 100 people in the department, 60 to 70 should get a 3, 20 should get a 4, and 20 should get a 2 or a 1. But not big enough. You don't have enough people. So basically, if you come to a department and you have 4 people in that department, and you're one of 4, who's going to get a 4? Is anyone going to get a 4? Essentially, no one should get a 4. No one should get a 2. it's not statistically significant enough to be able to do this right. So that's not fair. Larger organizations, you know, if you're in a department that has 50 people in it, yeah, you can do that. But there are too many departments in span that don't have enough people.
Doesn't mean that it's, you can't rely on this bell curve.
You can, but you have to have enough people. It has to be statistically significant, and it's statistically significant above 100 people. You need 90 to 100 people to be significant. So what I'm saying is that don't allow yourself to be ranked at the department level using the bell curve. One of you is a 4, 3 of you is a 2, 3, and one of you is a 2. That's not right. Because no, it's not statistically relevant. So force ranking is far more, this idea that all P2s, all P3s will be ranked is fairer. Is fair. And to be truthful, you know, once, and the HODs hate this. This is an exercise they don't want to do. They want to have MC on the day they do this, okay? Because it is ugly. It's not, you know, it's like, I gotta choose between why. Actually, it is, what happens in that exercise is you start seeing the 4s really distinguish themselves in the 2s. And you don't really worry about the 3s too much. So people who have 3s really won't change. It's the people at the edges, right? It's the people that, first of all, it's the people that are right in this zone here, right between a 3 and a 4. Where do they belong? Like a 4 to 4. They might end up, and the same here with the 2, between a 2 and a 3. Where do they belong? Where do they belong? That's some of the discussion. The other discussion is here, where the boss is overrating the employee. That's where it comes from. And every so often, you get bosses, the paint all looks, right? They're a 3 and they're rating you a 2. That's not fair. So they will be called out. So that's how it happens. So, they can say, but the bosses that are sitting in that room don't know me. Huh? They do know you. If you're a P2, P3, P4, P5, they know you. And if they don't know you, it's your job to be known to them. Because there's going to be force ranking. Hey boss, my name is, this is what I do. Remember me. Remember me, because you're going to see my name come up. But people who do extraordinary work, they're visible in the organization. So you don't need to go self-promoting with a lamp, you know, on your head, right? It's shining on you all the time, right? You show proactivity, you show customer focus, you sit in meetings where you're driving, what is this attachment to the strategy, you're saying things like this, people do this. They do it. And that's why these force rankings, they're terrible, but at the same time, people who know you know what you're worth. Observable behaviors. Yeah. Observable behaviors. So what's that? These forms they're pretty heavy, huh? 12 pages, 18 pages, 10 pages. It's helpful though, because it's a conversation you're having with your boss. Those conversations are helpful. It's not meant to be a paper-filling exercise. It's meant to have a discussion and write down the result. Right? Write down the result. So talk. And that's what communication is about. And that's why this afternoon we're going to talk about conflict. We're going to talk about negotiation. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to role play. We're going to try it out. Okay, any other questions or comments? Before we break, let's talk about setting KPIs. KPIs are hard to do. They're hard to write. So, welcome to the club. This is not easy. And what we advocate is, there's a famous way of writing, it's called SMART. So SMART is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic in time. Okay? What we're saying is that that's not enough. We actually have to look at how is your KPI benefiting the organization. Remember that strategy? If you move it down, where's my KPI? So I can help the organization move forward. Is it effective in the sense that the way to look at this is as follows. If the strategy is NRW, right, needs to go from non-renewable water? Is that non-revenue water. I thought it was recyclable. Non-revenue water, right, is 35%, and we want to move it down to 28%, let's say. I don't know what the target is for 2020. So that's at span level. And you move it down to, okay, what is it at the division level? What is it at the department level? And then what do I have to do in my job to help NRW to be reduced? Well, clearly, your KPI should not be that you reduce yourself from 35% down to 28%, right? That doesn't make any sense. A, you can't do it. B, it's not your job. So within this then, is that if you play a role in trying to bring NRW down, what is that role? What is that role that you control that you can help? That's the key. That becomes your KPI. Now, if you don't have anything to do with NRW, you should not accept a KPI about NRW, right? So, but let's say the person who is in this role has some impact on this, on reducing this. Okay, what is that impact? That becomes a KPI. Not, I'm going to reduce NRW. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. One thing we know for sure is that no, you're not. That's not your role. The role of the organization is to reduce NRW. What is your role within that specific area? Yeah. So it's very, very important that you bring it down to your level. What's under your control? What do you have to do in order for this to happen? What is your contribution? That's what you should think about. And it's not easy. Because then it's like, well, within the job scope of what I do, what can I do to bring this down? What do I control? So it's not, this is my job, this is my job description, this is what I write down as KPI. It's part of it. But in this particular case, what are you going to do? What more do you need to do in order for this to happen? So that's what this effectiveness is about. This effectiveness is, what is the measure that you're going to use to help this happen? And engage means basically, how is this linked to others? In the department, in the other departments, who needs to feed me? How do I need to feed them? And is it relevant? Is it linked to one of the 8 strategies? One of the big problems is, and this happens in every organization, so, oh, we have my KPI, blah, 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 and now we have strategy. Okay, forget the strategy, go back to our KPIs, blah, 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 blah. No. The KPIs are linked to the strategy. The strategy changes the KPIs. Strategy dictates the KPI. Not, I got my little job to do, I do my job, that's my KPI. It's not the KPI. The strategy is the KPI. That is what drives the KPI. And if we all work on helping resolving the strategy, you will succeed. You will succeed. You will become leaders in the market. And that's why we say, you need to be smarter, not just smarter. For example, here's a typical smart example of a smart KPI, right? It says you need to create 12 audit reports every quarter. So it's specific, audit reports, it's measurable, they're 12, it's actionable, yes, I can write these reports, it's realistic, I can do that within this amount of time, and it's time bound every quarter. It fits the description of a smart KPI. Bravo, it doesn't mean anything. Because writing 12, for what reason? What does this report do? Who does it serve? Are you just writing it and somebody's going to put it on the desk or not use it? So how about this one? Create 12 audit reports a quarter that generate a satisfaction index of 95% with the client that service that's using this report. How do you then get into asking feedback, a regular feedback? This requires regular feedback from the people who are using your report onto how the quality of that report is. So this KPI is asking you and the enforcement team in this case, this is a legal document, to basically work together to figure out what makes a good report. That's a very strong KPI. And then, for the 5% that are not satisfied or problems arise, you have to address and resolve any issue with an audit report within 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, whatever. Make that agreement with the people that you're supplying the reports to. That's a powerful KPI. It moves the organization forward. This is, I just do work. This is, I am driving the organization. I'm helping the organization become better. It's beneficial, effective, engaged, and relevant. Writing these is not easy. And you have to see what this requires. It requires you to talk to the people that you're delivering your report to ask them, what are they looking for in their report? What can we do better? What will drive your satisfaction? And if you're not happy, when do you need it resolved by? If there's a problem, how do I resolve that problem? This is proactive, customer focused. This is the behaviors you want to bring. Strategic and studious, because you're learning as you do this. These are behaviors, that's important. But the first few times you write these, wow. How do I do this? It's not easy. This is not easy. But this KPI, I love that. It makes sense to me. This KPI, trouble. Because when you're going to sit down with your boss, you're going to say, hey, you wrote 12 KPI, 12 reports, but they were no good. I'm not measured on that. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You signed off on it. Yeah, but you're the one writing. I'm not in control of writing. You're writing them, and they're not good. And complaints. Others say, oh, you're going to see all that happen. Oh, this is going to happen to you. The boss's boss is boss. Not happy. So you're avoiding that by basically bringing it down to what are we going to do? But remember, no one is asking the enforcement team about their feedback on their reports so far. If you can do that, you have a much stronger KPI. That's the way to think creative with the top KPIs. Yeah? So these are examples of KPIs that I picked up over the time. So it's like improved technical audits by 5% versus last year. Do you think that's a good KPI? So it's clear. Technical reports, you have to improve them. Okay. But now I can guarantee what's going to happen. You're going to sit down with your boss at the end of the year, and you're going to argue about the word improve. It cannot be measured. What am I improving on this audit report? What part of the audit report do I need to improve? And why? Why is that important to the organization? What is this report used for? And are we like 95% happy or 5% happy? If the customers are 5% happy, you have to improve not 5%, but 100%. Figure out what this report is used for, right? And then write a KPI. Talk to the people who use that report. I know that doesn't happen right now. But yeah, as I said, remember when I said you walk into an office that is alive and you only 100%? They talk. There's noise. That noise is not about Manchester United versus Man City. It's about this. Right? It's about this. Right? Things like recruit 3 staff members. Wow, okay, that's a big objective. Yeah, but for what? Who are they? What are they going to be doing? Like, what What's good are they going to be bringing to span? You know, even things like improve employee engagement index. First of all, you don't have them, but when you have, you know, improve it by 3%. What part of the index are we going to improve? And why is that important? Always ask those questions. What is the link? Why is it important? What can I do to change it? Improve staff morale. They increase network downtime by 6%. So these are all examples of KPIs that people have. And I can guarantee you, when you get a KPI like this and you approve the KPI, you sign off on it, you're going to have a problem when you sit down at the end of the year, or even at the middle of the year. Okay.
Can you give example of
Better?
this kind of KPI?
Yeah.
Can you give example?
Yeah. So the first thing that I do, and I've been trying to help SB and your HODs, is to turn around and say, who's your customer? Who are you serving for that specific part of your job? Who is it? In the organization. It could be in the organization or outside the organization. So we actually had, when we did a workshop, we actually had this chart that they had to fill out. So here's you, in your job, right, with your KPI. Who are you serving in terms of customers? Who are your customers? Is it internal customer? And the other thing is that people are supplying you information and data and work, etc. These are called your suppliers. These could be internal or external too. Right. They could also be customers, like customer complaints. So the customer complaint hotline is, this is a customer, right? So who are these people? Because here's the thing. If you talk to these people, right, they can tell you what your KPI should be. Because that's who you're serving, that's your client. Right? So we talked to the HODs and said, okay, if you're in legal, who are these people? And talk to these people at your level to figure out what you need to do better. Now, I'm not saying that everyone, like at the non-executive level, is going to be, this is an easy task to do. It's not. So for the moment, just believe that the HODs and the executives have been doing this. It's done. The other element is that, you know, if you have a KPI and you're responsible for it, you depend on others, right, for information, for work, for etc. Who are those people? Make sure you talk to them too. Say, this is my KPI. And if I have this KPI, I need this from you. What does your KPI look like? Does it have me in it? Am I in it? It's a mindset. Right? So is it easy to do? No. But you start off with the first year, be reasonable in your KPIs, make sure that you're responsible for it, make sure it ties into the strategy, make sure, etc. Next year, become more sophisticated because you know these people better. And you've thought about who supplies you the information. So start looking, thinking, be proactive. Think about who your customers are, think about who your suppliers are. Where do you get your information from? Because you can't do your job unless you get your information. So you cannot fulfill your KPI unless you know this. But this takes time because you haven't done this before. You look at me and say, hey, he's from planet Mars. No way this is going to happen. I can tell you, if you know where you sit in the organization, customers, you know, who's in front of you, behind you, suppliers are behind you, customers are in front of you, you stand to write KPIs that make sense. And maybe this next year, the KPIs are not going to be great. Okay? But you get better. So how long does it take to write a KPI like this? Maybe 2 years. Maybe 2 years. And maybe you start with this one. You just ask for a feedback form. Every report that you now write, you're going to have a feedback form. And that's what you measure. That feedback loop doesn't exist right now, but it should exist, because that's going to be communication. And then after that, next year, you put this one in. Because this one is, how fast am I going to react to the problem? If you can get to this level, wow. You're 100, you're like, Span is one of the world leaders. So it's not going to be excellent. It's going to take a while, but this is the right path. This is the way to go for it. Yeah. Okay. It's like, you didn't think you're going to headache by noon, right? It's like, what is this? But actually it is, it works. It does work. This is a higher level KPIs, et cetera, that you have seen out in the market. Not a lot of people in Malaysia are doing this way. Not enough. Okay. So what time is it now? Did I hit my KPI of 12:30?
Yes.
Oh, we're ahead. Half an hour. Role play? Do you want to talk about role plays? Or do you want to, let's go to role plays? We're way ahead, man. You have to ask me more questions. Slow me down. We're speeding through this too fast. It consists of 2 sets of paper. The first one is the first 3 sheets. You'll be using these sheets to either prepare or to observe. Okay? So these are the sheets you work with, the first 3 sheets. The next sheets are 3 scenarios. Scenario A, that's Anwar. And there's Anwar in English and Anwar in Bahasa. Don't ask me what's in there. Ellie has done the translations. Bravo, Ellie. So in terms of scenario A, there is supervisor, English and Bahasa. Then there's Anwar, the employee, English, Bahasa. And then there is copy for the observer. Okay. And the copy for the observer covers multiple pages. And what happens is as follows. Every scenario has a boss, and an employee, and an observer. And so you will play the role of a boss, an employee, and an observer. We have 3 role plays. So you rotate. Okay? That's why you have tables of 3. You're already in your circle. Right? So these are people you're going to be working with. The boss, who's playing that role, only reads the boss script. Do not look at the employee's script. And the employee, if you're playing the employee, only look at your script. Don't read the boss's script. Now, the observer can read both. They could read both because they can see the whole story. So that's the first thing. So stick to your script if you are playing that role. Do not share your script with your boss or your employee. The other thing is that every single time we run one of these, we're going to give a provisional rating from 1 to 4, just like we write 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 being acceptable, 4 being exceptional, 2 being needs work. We want at the end of your discussion between the boss and the employee, you're going to have a discussion. We want you to give a rating and agree to that rating. So both the boss and the employee, yeah, okay, I agree to that rating. We're going to use that in our debrief. So please do a rating. The observer is exactly that. They observe, they don't contribute. No gossiping, no extra. You are there to observe the discussion. So you do not prepare anything. You read the text. As an observer, you read the text. You understand both sides, right? And then when they start talking, you take out your observer sheet, if you're the observer, this one, 3rd sheet, and you write down what you observed. So particularly, we have behaviors that are the boss and the employee. What should be kept? What should be improved? Should they stop saying? Should they start saying? We're using the tools that we were just seeing today. Meanwhile, if you're a boss or an employee, you read your script and you use the appropriate sheet. So if you're the supervisor, use the supervisor sheet. If you are the employee, you use your employee sheet, and you prepare for the meeting. So you read the script and you prepare for the meeting by filling out your sheet. This is an important practice. Before you go into a meeting, that's an important meeting, particularly your job performance meetings, prepare yourself. And these sheets are typical of what you use in preparation. So this is practice of good practice. So if you're a boss, you should write in the boss, supervisor. If you are the employee, fill out the employee form. Once you have read your text, filled out your form, and you're ready to go, wait for your employee boss. You're both ready to go, start talking. No stop, no start, just start talking. And the observer stops to observe. And we stop the conversation. You stop the conversation when you have agreement. And the agreement usually is around the rating. I want a rating. All too many of your colleagues say, we put off the rating. Come on. This is the whole point of this. The whole point of this exercise is to reach an agreement. And why? I'm interested in the why, so we'll talk about that. Okay? Any other questions at this point in time? Okay. We have three role plays. One's called Anwar, the other one's called John, and the third one's called Farhana. They are not real people, so don't try to look for yourself or your colleagues in it. But they do reflect realities in Spain. So they were inspired by Spain. Right? Inspired by Spain. Okay? If you are a character like you're the boss, and you don't agree with the boss, don't change. Stay in character. Be the boss. Be the force. Be the force, be with you. Be Anwar. And Anwar is a young person. He's a Gen Y. So be a Gen Y. Act young. Act like those Gen Yers are, yeah? Not like a Gen X, yeah? Okay?
Change them around.
All right. So, the observers. I just want the observers. The observers, how many of you got a rating of 1? I gave the Anwar and the boss gave him 1. 1? 1. 1. First time. All right, bravo. First time. How many get the 2? 2? 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 14. Okay, 3. 1 team, 2 teams, 12 groups. What happened to the other 3? 3? Oh, thank you for waking up. All right, but let's start with the 1. The 1 is special. Why 1?
Because I think punctual is very important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Why is it important? Why is it important? So it shows discipline. Okay. It shows integrity, right? Honesty, openness, and you take this very seriously. Were you a little bit upset? As the boss, was the boss a little bit upset? Well, why was the boss upset?
Because it's actually jeopardized the boss role as a boss, because I have to explain and I have to, I do not want to be portrayed as the leader who is criticized as a favorite person that I choose. I would like to have everyone at the same
and regulations, yeah. It's honesty, rules and regulations. It's also, you're right. It's showing favoritism, right? You got promoted, now they don't have to work. What's that, right? Isn't that favoritism? Right, so it's inappropriateness of behavior. Okay, you are Anwar. What did Anwar think? What did you think? He's in tears. Right after lunch is never helpful. They're so mean, right? They're unjust because you're highly productive, right? Yeah. You got motivation, and now you're being accused of being a liar, right? Of being not disciplined, of being so tough on you, right? You've gone from the best to the worst in the space of a month. It's demoralizing. She's demoralized. What do you mean? 2 hours. That's not, listen, 2 hours is 2 hours. Yeah. Without telling the boss. Without telling the boss. Without informing creative.
Yeah.
So each time they're late, they need to call the boss.
It's just sometimes you have to tolerate.
That must have been a very good conversation. Very constructive. With Anwar in tears and the boss. I know, the observer is the one who's doing all the talking, which is super exciting. The observer is the toughest one in the crowd. That's good, that's good. Yeah. So how about the ones that rated 3? The other extreme. Why 3? Why did you give it 3? He still meets his target. So you're giving him a warning. You're saying, I maintain you at a 3. You drop slightly from a 4 to a 3, but beware, it can go worse, right? So this is a warning.
It's two sides of story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome.
Because the setup is actually having some difficulties because of the exam and everything, but maybe because the staff for not informing because of it. And then what is that also, the boss should acknowledge the staff that because of the auditor work is still same.
Yeah, but at the same time, right, this is true, it's perception. So you are observing Anwar's behavior. You're observing. Anwar's coming late, leaving early. And you say, oh, it's a traffic. Yeah, everyone has traffic.
And also the boss actually offering the flexible time. If you come a little bit late, you get everything. So that would actually, you have to be sure you work enough time for 8 hours.
Right. So there has to be that 8 hours, and you do have a certain amount of flexi time. And flexi time is going to become more and more prevalent. Right? That's one of the things that's in the strategies. So this is going to happen possibly more often. So how do you regulate? Flexi time is not easy. How do you make sure it's fair? How do you make sure it's fair? And then the whole idea of productivity comes in. And what is productivity? It's achieving your targets today, 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. When do you measure productivity? How do you know they're productive? So these are fundamental questions, but clearly, Anwar has observable behavior.
But I guess that marginalizing people for doing something so-called is not correct. I mean, it's improper, it's improper act. It would not automatically solve the problem either.
Also, yeah. Did any of you, as the boss, you know, in this case you did, come up with a solution that basically is how can we work this together?
Correct.
Did you?
Agreed, please, agreed.
That's not the way the boss should work. Please be a good boy. That's that agreement. That's called praying. Not helpful. Yeah, it's this idea of coming, how to say, of making, observable behaviors are reality. That's what we see. We see. So therefore, we have to act on them. How we act on them, that's a matter of who you are, the relationship you have with Anwar. You could ask him nicely. You could make Anwar feel guilty. Don't you realize what you're doing to your fellow employees? Did any of you try that? Anwar, don't you realize the terrible things that you're doing to your employees or to your colleagues? You're misbehaving this way. You're supposed to be showing the example because you've just been promoted. What type of example does that set? Come when you want, leave when you want. That's not a good example. So you can guilt him. There are many different ways of doing it. The way you choose is yours. But the message still needs to be the same. And it has to do with morale. It has to do also do with fairness. It also has to do with a realization. Now, as Anwar, if you who are Anwar, you read your script. Does Anwar know that he has a problem? Those who are Anwar, right? You would start off by, there's no problem. I'm doing a good job. What's my boss want to talk to me for? Okay, what's her problem, right? Yeah, that's what the way you started off. I don't understand this script. Everything's okay. Yeah, leave me alone. Right? And that has to do with the fact that Anwar has a big blind spot. He doesn't know his behaviors sometimes. He looks at himself and saying, I'm being very productive. Thank you very much. I'm in my little world. Self-leadership, great. But leading others, being an example for others, how can you become an example for others if you don't do yourself what you expect others to do? You lead by example. So if he's truly part of the talent pool, he needs to lead by example. He needs to be aware. And that's why this meeting is so important, because the boss needs to talk about a blind spot. How do you talk about the blind spot? That's up to you.
But the reality is that sometimes, or I'm not sure most of the time, the employer has not given the opportunity to explain to explain what's going on and whatnot, you know. And then he just like being judgmental.
Yeah. These are very good points. How many of you, as the boss, started out by asking Anwar how he's doing, his perspective? How many of you? Or how many, let's put it the other way around. How many pointed at Anwar and said, you're a bad boy? How many said that?
He's the one.
Yes.
He's the leader.
What did you ask? What did you ask Anwar?
First thing I found about the situation, what happened.
Okay.
And then I asked the reason why it happened.
But you still said you're late.
No.
What did you say?
I just say that there is a change of behavior on you,
Okay.
that might impact you as an individual and also your colleague and also the company.
Okay.
So we don't to understand the issue further. I would like to ask what's the reason of that happened.
That's very sophisticated. Well done. The first role play. Okay, you can go home. Well done. Well said. Very well said. And we'll come back to this later today. In this, how do you approach a topic? And the best way possible is through questioning. But you said the scene nicely, so it wasn't like you're bad, you're late, you're this. I'm starting to observe this. Help me understand. Help me understand. What do you think? Wow, fantastic. That is like level 3, man. You're Super Mario. Very well done. Very well done. Yeah.
Can you show, since everyone has done their part,
Right.
can you show them your version of the interviews?
In those interviews?
Maybe you and Ellie can do it in front.
Oh, I'm gonna give him a hard time.
I don't want to disadvantage them. is that as the afternoon progresses, we'll get more and more sophisticated. We'll reach that level by this afternoon. And the reason for that is that we need to start asking questions. But we come to the questioning at the third role play. But we can start at the second role play because we're already sophisticated. So we'll go through